President Donald Trump will later today announce if the United States will remain in the nuclear deal reached with Iran and several other countries in 2015.
Yeah, it is no secret that Trump has for long criticized the nuclear deal, which he says has fundamental flaws. U.S. and European diplomats have since January tried to work out a compromise on the deal, but have failed to reach any so far.
And despite intense pressure from European allies not to do so, there are strong indications that President Trump would pull out of the agreement before the May the 12th deadline unless it is revised. Now, a decision to pull out of the deal could see economic sanctions earlier lifted on Iran reimposed over its involvement in war-torn Syria and its nuclear ambition as well. And joining us via Skype this time from London is the CEO of Diaspora PR, Jermaine Sowolu. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, President Trump is talking again, and many countries are on their toes. Are you worried as well?
Well, I believe when you talk about nuclear weapons, everyone has to be worried because we know how President Trump is. And we know that Iran possibly has some nuclear weapons. And that region's stability is dependent upon the America and the world over coming together to reach an agreement whereby Syria, Iran, and the forces in those areas do not actually do what they're not meant to do.
Now, when it comes to this crisis with Iran and Syria and all the deals, putting timeline, do you think that it puts more pressure on everyone as to trying to meet the deadline?
Yes, absolutely. It puts more pressure, as you mentioned earlier, about the May 12th deadline. And President Trump, as of last week, most people actually believing that he may step out of the agreement. And you know, this is a president who stepped out of the climate agreement and did not really care what the world thought. He hasn't believed that the deal, the joint comprehensive plan of action that France, Germany, UK, and also America actually signed to ensure that Iran's armed weapons and nuclear program is actually curtailed, limiting their progress. But I believe what Donald Trump wants is an elimination of that process. He believes that this deal that they currently have in place that was signed by the Obama administration is not favorable to the U.S. and it still gives Iran, so to say, a head's way to keep on building weapons and causing a threat. Now, when it comes to Syria, we know that Syria is a very hot spot right now. There's a lot of war going on right now, and Iran's role in that, it is believed that Iran has recruited up to 80,000 Shiite fighters. And if President Trump, I beg your pardon, steps out of that agreement, Iran has actually threatened that it will take action, but people don't really know what kind of retaliatory action it promises to take. And it sets those fighters loose to cause havoc. We know places like Lebanon, Yemen, and Syria will be affected. So people are on their toes. People are watching very carefully to see what actually happens.
In fact, I was about to ask that if President Donald Trump moves ahead to pull out of the agreement and, of course, starts sanctioning Iran all over again, the worries really of Iran taking drastic decisions just to protect itself.
Yes, they will. They will have that natural instinct of self-preservation to ensure that nothing happens to them. They've been known to be funding a lot of terrorist organizations, and possibly this would be another avenue for them to vent out and say they are going to keep on developing their nuclear weapons. And you know, state nations such as Israel, we just celebrated its 70 years of being a nation right now, could be a threat because Iran has vowed or so to take that nation out of the face of the earth, the map, so to say. So it is a very dicey situation that we are in right now. Hopefully President Donald Trump will actually look at the things, the pros and cons, and stand for unity, you know. And we know that Russia, China, and other European nations and the US signed to ensure that that deal comes in place. And if he steps out of it, it will cause a lot of instability in that region. We know a lot of thousands of people are dying daily in Syria. Iran still has a lot of problems. We don't want President Trump to actually just step into the picture or step out of the picture and bring instability in that region, because he's already played with a lot right now.
Well, talking about nuclear weapons, Iran nuclear issues have been on the news for so many years. And recently we just been having the issue of North Korea coming on board the news stage. And it's all about nuclear weapons, as the case may be. Now, we're seeing some resolution as far as North Korea is concerned. What's the difference between the two when it comes to resolving these issues?
Well, till now, in this new season of the North Korean leader now becoming more liberal, quote and unquote, in his views and accommodating the South Korean counterparts and trying to work out an agreement whereby they can all live together in unity. You see the crossing of the lines and of the borders of the nations, and they putting up a united front. Even in that table tennis match that they played, there was all unity. So we can see North Korea right now, a nuclear power, trying to ensure that things are done properly. And Iran, it's known as a nuclear power, but it has a terroristic tendency. It is known for terrorist ideologies and causing wars and sponsoring wars in various nations. So that's the major thing. North Korea has been confined to its own region and threatening, through its ballistic missiles to attack places like Japan and other nations and South Korea and all that. But we know that it's changing its tone of voice, and that's what is expected from Iran. But it seems Iran is still bent on ensuring that it can wreak as much havoc as possible if the deal, which it says doesn't want to be renegotiated, if the world does not, do we say cower, do not buy into their own vision of what they want things to be done. We know that their banks will actually be affected, the central government will be affected, and also their oil exports to the US and other nations will be affected, and businesses would not like to be doing business with Iran again because they know of the US sanctions. So North Korea is opening up, and Iran seems to be closing down. So that's what the major difference is. I would believe that if Trump actually makes a decision to stay in the agreement, then we can now see, hopefully, they will now begin to renegotiate and begin to lower their tempo right down, but rather than being hostile to other nations.
And borrowing a leaf from the North Korea formula, which has seen the North Korea now moving closer to its twin country, which acceptable diplomatic strategy would you suggest really for Trump to use to bring Iran closer and make it even stop his nuclear ambition altogether, if it's possible?
Well, President Trump has not been one who has been known for a lot of conventional and traditional diplomacy. He just nowadays looks for what's the best interest of America and ensures that his leadership style is actually taken by the rest of the world and understood. So we want to believe that if he goes into negotiations, but Iran has said that they don't want to renegotiate the agreement, and if any negotiation is done, if terms and conditions are changed, they will retaliate and they will step out of the agreement. So Iran has a part to play, not just President. I'm sure President Trump in sideline meetings and other kind of diplomatic ways have tried to negotiate with Iran because he believes that that deal was the worst deal ever done because it only limits their growth in nuclear power and growth in that aspect of empowering themselves to have nuclear weapons. It doesn't stop them from doing it. And if they can't be stopped, that means terrorism will not be stopped, the funding for terrorism will not be stopped. That region, Syria, Yemen, Lebanon, will always be in a state of tension. So I believe military option may not be the best way, but a lot of negotiation has to be done between these few days that we have leading up to the May 12th, when the deal has to be, the deadline for the deal has to be done. So let's hope that the world bodies will come together and talk, and President Trump to show better leadership in ensuring that this is resolved.
All right, even looking at it from even a broader perspective, when it comes to the deal trying to arrange a deal to prevent Iran from stockpiling nuclear weapons. Is the major focus really, the big picture, is the focus on Israel? Is Israel the reason for all of this in the first place?
Well, that's a good question, because Israel and America are, so to say, like one. They are strong allies. And America believes there's an obligation to look after Israel's interest, you know, and a lot of Israelis who are doing well in America there, it's connected to Israel. America is the only reason, quote unquote, while Israel still can still, so to say, boast in that area, because they know they have a big border that is supporting them. That's not taking away the military capabilities and technological advances that Israel has made. They are a strong nation on themselves. But the fact that America is backing them ensures that the nations which are a threat to their own existence around them can't just go in there and destroy them. They have protection. So America always looks at it from this point of view, that it's this nation going to be a threat to Israel. Has Iran changed their stance towards Israel? And the answer is no. They still are adamant about their position on Israel, and they still want to do what they want to do to Israel. So it all ties down to Israel. The stability of the Middle East, the warring nations there, Israel has a pivotal role in the whole matrix of things there. And they too are very strong, and they don't, I'm sure they don't want Iran to be a nuclear power in that region.
Would you say that is the personality of President Trump and the way he has come out almost every time to criticize the previous administration of Barack Obama that is making Iran to be somewhat suspicious of the renegotiation of this deal?
Well, it's kind of funny, you know, because it seems like President Trump, you know, being a businessman, wants to believe that he's a negotiation expert, you know, he wrote that book, The Art of the Deal and all that. He sees it as America has taken a very, very weak stance in international diplomacy and agreements. You know, we know of the NAFTA agreement, North American Free Trade Agreement and all that. We know that he's actually trying to push for America to have stronger presence and have benefits when it comes to the agreements that are going on there, and also the climate agreement right now, where America has been paying so much more and other nations have not been paying so much more into the whole funding of the situation. So in this kind of situation right now, President Trump, in his own view, I think is believing that this deal is not good for America. It's trusting the safety of America and its main ally, Israel, in that region. So he's looking at it from that point of view, that whatever it takes to ensure that Israel is not being threatened and the power balance in that area is not shaken, that's what he's thinking about, right? He wants Iran not to have any weapons at all that could be of threat, not only to Israel, but to the rest of the world. I believe that's why he's taking that stance. And in that attitude. So he's always been America first, American interest and his allies first. So that's why he's actually taking this post in this regard.
Okay, France is preparing. In fact, France is looking forward already in case the United States pulls out of this deal, and looking forward to possibilities of going ahead with the other countries that are working on the deal with Iran. Now, if the U.S. pulls out, certainly it's going to bring a shift in the direction of things. But what scenarios can play out if that happens going forward?
Well, the first one is that France, Germany, the UK, Russia, China, and Iran come together and have an agreement, and they curtail what Iran is doing. They still ensure that they limit it, and Iran plays ball to it. And the second scenario is whereby America, you know, steps out of the situation and it's no longer part of the deal. And what will happen there is that, as I said earlier, many nations, many companies will stop doing business in that region, because they know that if America is against what is happening in Iran, anything can happen. As President Trump ordered the strike of Syrian air bases. He could decide one morning to order a strike on Iranian nuclear spots, and that would cause a lot of instability there. So America, whether we like it or not, still has a strong role to play in international politics and international security. And if whoever side America leans on is the side, quote unquote, that is actually has the upper hand, so to say. So we want to believe that President Trump will ensure that he still stays in the matrix, he doesn't step out of the agreement, he joins the rest of the world and ensures that there is kind of, tempers are actually lessened and lowered in this point in time in that region, because that will be the best situation for the rest of the world. But let's hope that President Trump focuses not just the best.
All right, Jermaine, we have to end it here because of time.
For America too.
Jermaine Sawolu, CEO, Diaspora PR, thank you very much for your analysis on the show today.
Thanks for having me.